Begin with June 13th, when Israel initiates surprise airstrikes across Iran. Mention explosions lighting up Tehran in the early morning hours. Highlight coordinated attacks on Isfahan, Tabriz, Kerman, Shiraz, Hamadan, and Piran-Shahar. Emphasize the strategic nature of these cities. Nuclear, military, and intelligence hubs. Note confirmed strikes on Natanz enrichment facility and Arak heavy water reactor. Include damage reports from Parchin military zone and satellite image confirmations. Show Israeli jets conducting operations with minimal resistance in Iranian airspace. Mention Mossad teams launching drones and anti-tank missiles with precision. Point out the killing of multiple high-ranking IRGC members and nuclear scientists. Explain Hezbollah's inactivity and Israel's dominant retaliation using drones and ballistic missiles. Report that many were intercepted, but key Israeli targets, including Tel Aviv, were hit. Detailed damage at Israeli military HQ and rising public fear frame the conflict as far more intense than previous rocket wars with Hamas or Hezbollah. Quote Netanyahu calling for national readiness and long-term mobilization. Emphasize that full-scale war has begun. No longer a threat, but a reality. Describe Iran's continued attacks, launching over 100 drones in the next wave. Note the U.S. response, denying involvement while threatening Iran with escalation. Mention Secretary of State Marco Rubio's statements and President Trump's warnings suggest a good cop, bad cop strategy from Washington for negotiation. Iran's nuclear negotiator and top advisor shift to strategic analysis of the coming phase of war. Detail Israel's destruction of air defenses and command centers to pave way for future strikes. Note Israel's declared plan to hit economic targets like ports, refineries, and missile depots. Mention that without direct U.S. help, Israel cannot fully destroy Iran's nuclear program. At best, they can delay Iran's progress by a couple of years. At worst, Iran might rush to build a crude nuclear device in response. Suggest deeper Israeli goal: weakening or removing the IRGC, not just nukes. Mention targeted killings of IRGC, but avoidance of regular army figures. Analyze possible divide-and-rule strategy. Push military against Operation Rising Lion as symbolic of pre-1979 monarchy. Argue regime change may be the actual Israeli objective. Explain Iran's counter-goal, collapsing Netanyahu's coalition through domestic pressure. Note, Iranian aim to damage military infrastructure while avoiding civilian targets. Say this selective pressure might provoke a no-confidence vote in Israel. Recognize that regime change efforts by either side are highly uncertain. Discuss shifting variables. Even a small diplomatic or military move could escalate. Iran must appear strong without inviting full U.S. entry into the war. Israel might escalate further to force American involvement. Iran could issue warnings to U.S. and Gulf nations
with
before
April 2024 drone campaign. Damage without regional escalation. Strategy now is endurance versus escalation. Israel's missile defense systems may deplete over time. Iran's tactic, prolonged strikes to overwhelm air defenses. Iran's challenge, limited high-power ballistic missiles and missile attrition. Iran's estimated arsenal, 3,000 ballistic missiles. Not all capable of reaching Israel. Still, some may penetrate Israeli and U.S. defenses and force policy shifts. In the past, Iran relied heavily on regional proxy groups. Hezbollah is weakened after a year of fighting. Leaders killed, Mossad infiltration. Lebanon's government opposes Hezbollah re-entering war. Provoke attacks on U.S. bases in Syria, Iraq, and Jordan. Houthis might launch missiles at Israel or U.S. Navy ships in the Red Sea. Warn that such moves risk direct U.S. retaliation, like Soleimani's assassination. Ain may also strike oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Revisit 2019 and 2022 Gulf attacks as examples. Attacks on Strait of Hormuz shipping could spike global oil prices. Gulf states might then pressure the US to restrain Israel. Highlight risk. Such moves could destroy Iran's recent diplomatic progress in the Gulf. Each option Iran considers has serious consequences and risk of blowback. The boldest deterrent, a nuclear weapons test. A test would demonstrate Iran's seriousness and force global reaction. But it would also invite isolation, sanctions, and military threats. Iran may instead choose a symbolic move, like leaving the Non-Proliferation Treaty. This keeps escalation ambiguous while signaling nuclear intent. Conclude that both countries now walk a fine line between strategy and chaos. As each new strike unfolds, the path to de-escalation grows narrower. Even targeted attacks rarely lead to predictable results. Close with a message: in the fog of war, control is the first casualty.